This demonstration will show you how to use the Create List step to create a SharePoint list automatically within a K2 workflow. You can use this workflow step in any business process that requires creating a list within a site collection in your SharePoint environment. It's also a very helpful workflow step to use if you have automated governance or administration models applied to your SharePoint architecture. To show this, let's take a look at a workflow that demonstrates this capability. Here I have a SharePoint list called Project Site Requests that will handle requests to create new SharePoint sites for projects within an organization. I've already set up the basics for this workflow to create a project-based SharePoint site upon adding an item to the list. And then once this site is created, I want to make sure a contacts list is created to hold contact information specific to the people associated with the project. I'll show you how to use the Create List workflow step to accomplish this task. When I drag and drop this step on the design canvas, the first window that appears will be called Specify Properties. This window allows you to configure the new list and pick the site collection where you would like it to live. In this example, I only have one site collection available, so I'll leave it set to the main portal collection. If you have a sub-site in this site collection where you want this new list to be created, you can enter in the relative URL for it here, either by hard coding the name or using any of the fields available that may contain this value from the context browser. I want this list to be created within the newly created SharePoint site in the earlier Create Site step. So I'll populate the relative URL setting based on the path of the site collection and the new site using a combination of text and a field from the context browser site reference. Keep in mind you can use the context browser fields in the name, description, template, and Create List reference text boxes as well. For this demo, I'll be hard coding these values. So from here, I'll fill in the name for this list as Project Contacts. Next, I'll put some information in the description field. Now let's take a look at the template options. The template selected here must be available in the site where you want to create this list, or the workflow will halt with an error if it can't find the template. You can select from the available list here on the form, or click on the button at the left side of the drop-down control and enter a value in as text, or drag a field from the context browser. I just want a contacts list, so I'll select it from the available list options. Moving on, you also get options to control the list's display in the Quick Launch menu, allow for folder creation, and also enable versioning options. Hide List will hide the list's URL links from view in a user's browser if enabled. If this is enabled, users must know the direct URL link to the list if they want to get to it. As such, you must disable the display on the Quick Launch option in order to set the Hide List option. Create List Reference makes property values for this new list available later on in the workflow under Item References in the context browser. I'll enable this and give it a name since I want to use the title property this provides in a future email step that notifies the originator that the site is ready. So we have one last option at the bottom of the window. If the list you want to create is found to already exist in your designated SharePoint site, put a check in this box to use the existing list on site if found, if you foresee this occurring in your process. For this demo, I'll uncheck it because the list won't exist in the new site at this point. On a technical note, be sure that the K2 Service account has permission to create the list in the desired site collection for this wizard. So now I'll finish this up and quickly show you the notification email message that utilizes the list reference created by the Create List wizard. The list reference appears under the item reference in the context browser. You can grab values from this throughout the workflow where you need them. In this case, I'm just dropping the title field in the body of the message to show how it works. So from here, I'll finish up and deploy the workflow, and then we can look at an example of it in action. I have this workflow set up to run when an item is added to my project site request list. I'll fill in the fields with information about a site I want to have created. With those values filled in, I'll save the record, and the workflow will kick off and create the site and list under the projects area I set up for this demo. So now let's switch over to my Outlook client, and we can see the notification that comes in when the client site is created. You can see the body of the message shows title from the list reference I created in the Workflow Wizard. Let's click the link here and check out the new site list. The Create Site Wizard set up a project site called Data Center Rebuild. I'll open up the project contacts list to check and make sure the settings I selected were configured accordingly. Here you can see that versioning was enabled for this list, and also notice it's displaying a link on the Quick Launch menu. We would like to thank you for watching this demo on how to use the Create List Wizard. We hope you have a better understanding of how and when you can use this workflow step within processes used by your organization.